Good morning. Good morning. It is April 7th, Tuesday. Welcome back to Distance Learning with Mrs. Gaylord. I hope that you are having a good week. It's Tuesday, so already you've got one day down. Miss Gaylord is excited that you are continuing to learn and that you are doing your best. Thank you for logging in and for completing the lessons and making sure that you mark turn in. And you have been doing a great job. And I'm excited to tell you that I've looked at all your things that you've turned in, and I want you to keep doing as good a job as you are doing. Okay. Yesterday, we started a new book. Do you remember what it was called? Scampering Through Savannah. Miss Gaylord read you this a few pages from the book to tell you about some places in our city of Savannah. Last week, do you remember? Or yesterday, do you remember where we started off? River Street. Very good. Okay. And then remember the brother and sister went to the next place, which was the Pirate's house. Very good. Okay. And then they went to the birthplace of a person that we've studied this year in second grade, the founder of the Girl Scouts. Whose birthplace? Juliette Gordon Low. Very good. Okay. So let's keep going. Hey, here we are in Chippewa Square, read Olivia. The statue here is of General James E. Oglethorpe. He sailed across the ocean in a large ship over 250 years ago. He helped design the layout of the streets, the squares in Savannah, making it America's first planned city. If you go to Chippewa Square, you can see the statue of James Oglethorpe. These cookies we got sure taste good, said Noah to Olivia. You know, Mom always says life is like a box of cookies. Don't be silly, Noah, said Olivia. That was from a movie, and it wasn't like life was like a box of cookies. It's like life is like a box of chocolates anyway. Hey, little dudes, what's up? Asked the skateboarder. Well, we need to head back to the hotel where your parents are staying. The hotel is near the river, so you can see the big ships. Do you know which way we should go? Asked Olivia. Sure, dudes, he answered. Sounds like you need to get down to Tybee Island. I'm headed that way now. Hop on the back of my skateboard and hold on tight. Wow. Whee! Hop off, little dudes. Climb up to the top of the lighthouse and see if you can spot your hotel. Good luck, called the skateboarder as he zoomed off down the street. Thanks for the ride, said Olivia and Noah. Wow, look at that lighthouse. It's taller than the trees. It almost touches the clouds. Let's climb to the top, begged Noah. Okay, but you go first, said Olivia nervously. Did you know that Tybee Island Lighthouse is the oldest and tallest in the state of Georgia? Asked Olivia. You can see everything from up here, said Noah. Everything except our hotel, said Olivia. But look over there. There's an awesome fort and those some old cannons. Let's go check it out, Noah said as he headed down the lighthouse steps. We'll leave that today and find out where they go tomorrow, okay? All right. Today, I hope that you have your Riggs journal handy where you've been writing down your words. Yesterday, we got 6 new words for Monday. So Miss Gaylord is about to call those out. If you need to grab paper and pencil, make sure that you do that so we can go over the words that you learned yesterday, okay? Now, remember, just like we were in class, Miss Gaylord is going to call these out. You're going to write them down. And then when you get finished, you're going to have either you can check them with your journal or you can have an adult check them. And remember to write the ones that you missed 3 times each, okay? And don't forget to go to the Google Classroom and type the new words into the document to let Miss Gaylord know that you watched the video and that you have the words. There's also a place on the Google Classroom for you to type in 3 sentences. So choose 3 words out of your 6 and write a good sentence with punctuation, okay? All right, let's get ready for our first word today. If you'll write down the word, please. Number 1, cabbage. Cabbage. Remember, at any time, if you need to press pause on the video to catch up, you can do that, okay? Just press pause. Number 2, careful. Careful. Number 3, cough. Cough. Number 4, shift. Shift. Number 5, blimp. Blimp. Remember, Mrs. Gaylord told you that a blimp can be an object up in the air that floats. It can be filled with helium or other gases. Blimp. And number 6, hatch. Hatch. Okay, so don't forget, after you write your words, later after the video, have somebody check it or you check it with your Rigs Journal to see if you got the words right and that you spelled them all correctly, okay? Now, today, Tuesday, you'll get the next 6 words, and then you can, tomorrow, when I call out the words, you can write all those 12 that we've learned, okay? And then Thursday, you'll write all 18 for the words for the week, okay? All right, so grab your pencil, grab your journal, and let's write down the next word, okay? The first word today is tender. Tender. How many syllables in the word tender? 2. Very good. Okay. What does tender start with? T. Very good. T makes no markings. T has no markings because T makes one sound. Now, tender can be a homonym. Okay. There is a type of tinder that you would burn. You would gather sticks in the forest and you would burn the sticks as tinder, something that burns. But this is not the noun tender. This is a homonym. This is tender, like you have tender skin or soft, okay? This can be an adjective here. So let's think. What letter would it be? Tender, okay? Eh, eh. This one is an E, okay? Not the I, like the type of sticks that you burn for fire. This is tender, like soft. So it's an E, eh, eh, eh. What are the sounds of E? Eh, E, first sound, no markings. Very good. Mm, mm, N. N makes one sound, so no markings. 10, like the number. Syllable dot. That's your first syllable. D, 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 D. Very good. Okay. D. D has one sound, so D has no markings. Now think of all the ers that we know. Which do you think it is? Good. The of her. Okay, you underline it twice because it's a 2-letter sound. The of her. Okay, our first word is tender. Okay, what part of speech did we say it was? An adjective. Very good. Okay. The next word is window. Window. How many syllables is window? 2. Very good. Okay. What does it begin with? W. W has no markings because W makes one sound. I, I, I. I. Good. Okay. I has 3 sounds. What are they? I, E. I is the first sound. No markings. Good. N. Win. Syllable dot. Window. O. Do. Da. Da. D. D makes no one sound, so no markings on D. Very good. Okay, now let's look at the O. Would it end in a O? Does that look like window? No. What is the 2-letter sound? O, W, ow, O, cow and snow. Is it the ow? Do we say window? No, we use the second sound, put a 2 above. Window, O, ow, O, cow and snow. Window. Okay, what part of speech is a window? Noun. Very good. Very good. Okay, the next word is cousin. Cousin. How many syllables is cousin? 2. Good. Starts with a k, C. What are the sounds of C? K, S. First sound, no markings. K, k, Ow, O, oo, It's a 2-letter sound. It's the which sound? Ow, O, oo, the 4th sound. Very good. The cuz, and then the syllable dot. So it has the z. Is it a Z or an S? An S. What are the sounds of S? S, Z. It's the first sound or the second sound? The second sound. Cuz, syllable dot, in. I. What are the sounds of I? I, E. It's the first one. No markings. In. N has no markings because N makes one sound. Cuz, in. Cousin. What part of speech is cousin? A noun. And who is your cousin? Okay, your cousin is the child of one of your parents' siblings. So if mom has a sister, her children are your cousins. If dad has a brother, his children are your cousins, okay? Cousin. It's a family relation. Very good. Okay, so now we have the first 3 words, so we need to move on and get our next words, okay? Which the next word is operate. Operate. How many syllables? Operate. Operate. 3. Very good. Okay. Now, what do you think operate begins with? Ah. Oh, good. What are the sounds of O? Ah, O, oo, Ah. First sound, no markings. The short O. Good. P. P makes no markings because it has one sound. Syllable dot. Op, Which is it? Yes, you got it. The of her. Op, syllable dot. 8. 8. We hear the A, okay? Since it's the long A, we underline it. You hear the A. That's the vowel that you hear in that syllable, so you underline it. Okay? T. T makes no other sound, so no markings. T. And then E. What job would be the E? Okay, very good. Okay, operate. We underline it. Silent final E. Let's the vowel say its name. A. Operate. What part of speech is operate? A verb. Very good. Operate. Okay. The last two words have the same first letter sounds. Grr, grr. What do you think they begin with? A G. Very good. Okay. Grape, grape, like the fruit. Grape. How many syllables? One. Very good. Okay. G starts with the G. R makes no markings. R makes one sound. A, you hear the A, just like in operate. You hear the A, so you underline it. P, P makes one sound, no markings, so it's the silent final E. Job number one, lets the vowel say its name. Very good. Okay, a grape is a noun. If you say, I'm like to drink grape soda, grape could also be a adjective. Very good. A describing word. The last word also starts with the gr sound. It is the word grade. Gr starts with the same G, R. This is a one-syllable word, just like grape. A. The vowel says its name. We underline it. D. D makes one sound, no markings. E, what is it? Silent final E lets the vowel say its name. Now, grade can be two parts of speech. Do you know what they are? The teacher's going to grade your assignment in Google Classroom. That's a verb. Good. She gave me a grade on my iReady. That is a noun. Very good. Okay. All right. So let's look at our parts of speech that we have here. Okay. So let's start with our list of nouns. Can you look at your words and tell me what do you see is a person, place, or thing or idea? Okay. What do you see as a person, place, thing, or idea? Just shout it out at me. Window. Window. Very good. Okay. Do you see another? Do you see another noun? Window would be a thing, and this next one will be a person. What is it? Cousin. Very good. Okay. Cousin would be under person. Okay. Do you see any other nouns? If you use a grape, like the fruit, that would be a noun, a thing. And if you say a grade, like I got a grade in the grade book, that would be a noun, a thing. Okay, very good. Very good. Did you see any verbs today? Did you see any verbs? Okay, what is a verb? A verb would be usually an action. Good. It also could be a being verb, like am, is, was, were. Okay, are, be, being, been, those things. Or it can be an action. This one is an action. What verb do you see as a word on our list that could be a verb? Okay, operate. Very good. The doctor will operate on his patient. This word could also be a verb. It is an action. If I do this to a paper, I can grade. Grade can also be a verb. Okay, very good. Do you see any describing words? What is the part of speech that describes a noun or pronoun? We call it an adjective. Do you see an adjective here? I see an adjective. Tender, okay? Tender, her tender touch is a soft touch. If I say I'd like some grape soda, that could be an adjective as well. Okay, very good. All right, you did a great job with our parts of speech today. Okay. Miss Gaylord is going to have you put up your Riggs journal for a minute, and let's get ready to go over our phonogram cards for today to practice our sounds. I hope that you have been enjoying these as we do it together. I know some of you like to say them loud and proud. Okay, so you do that in your home and you keep up with us as we learn these sounds. Okay, all right. What are the 4 sounds of A? A, aw. Very good. Okay, there were several words on our list that had a long A. Can you remember them? Operate, grade, grape. Very good. Okay, very good. Okay, all right. The next one is 2 sounds of C, K, S. What word had a beginning sound of K on our list? K. Cousin. Nice job. Okay, D. 1 sound, D, D. F, 1 sound, G, 2 sounds, G, J. 2 words started with a G, G, G. Grape and grade. Very good. 4 sounds of O. Ah, O, oo, What word started with the short ah? Operate. Yes, good. S, 2 sounds. S, Z. What word had the second sound? Z? Cousin. Great. Q-U, 1 sound. Qua, qua. B, 1 sound. B, b. E, 2 sounds. E. Good. H, 1 sound. I, 3 sounds. I, E. J, 1 sound. J. K, 1 sound. K. L, 1 sound. M, 1 sound. N, 1 sound. P, 1 sound. P. Had a little pig, put him in a pen, fed him on peach peelings. One day my little pig, he went pop. R, 1 sound. T, 1 sound. T. U, 4 sounds. U, V, 1 sound. V. W, 1 sound. W. X, 1 sound. X. Y, 4 sounds. Ya, I, E. Very good. And Z, 1 sound. Z. Great. Okay. What are the sounds of the of her. What word from our list had an the of her? Operate and tender. Very good. 2 words today. The of early. The of works. The of nurse. The of first. Shh. Used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, but not at the beginning of most syllables after the first one, except for the ending ship. Great. E always says E. A, 2-letter A that we do use at the end of English words. A, 2-letter A that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. Great job. Ow, oh, cow and snow. What word from our list has ow, oh, cow, or snow? Window. Is it the ow or the o? O. We spell it with O-W. Good job. Okay. Ow, oh, ooh, What word has this in it? Our list? Cousin. Ow, oh, ooh, the cousin. Yes. All that we do use at the end of English words. All that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with you. OU that we do use at the end of English words. OU that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with U. Oi that we do use at the end of English words. Oi that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. Oo, o. Good. Ch, k, sh, ch, k, sh. Very good. Ng, e, a. R. Good. K, two-letter k, used after a single vowel that says a, e, I, Ed, d, t, past tense ending. Or, good, hua. I, that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. O, the O of boat. AE that we do use at the end of English words. AE that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. A, four-letter A. I, three-letter I. EI, our backwards phonogram. We say EI, but we write IE unless it's after a C. Very good. Two-letter used at the beginning of a base word. Two-letter Two-letter Great. Two-letter used both at the beginning and end of a base word. J, three-letter J, used after a single vowel that says a, e, I. O, the O of toe. Ch, three-letter ch, used after a single vowel that says a, e, I. Short letter sh, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Tall letter sh, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Z, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. O, oo, uff, off, aw, ow. What word fit this phonogram that I gave you yesterday? This would be cough. O, oo, uff, off. Fourth, aw, ow. Good job. Okay, you are doing a great job with those. Now, let me remind you that you have a daily website part that's attached to your Google Classroom. Now, you have to put in your time in the iReady lesson. I think Miss Gaylord asked 20 minutes a day in reading and math. That would be 80 minutes a week. Now, Miss Gaylord went through the iReady last week to see who completed those. And if you did, you got the 100. If you did none of it, you got a 0. And if you did part of it, you got a 50. So please make sure you're doing the daily website work. iReady reading, iReady math, and that's 4 days out of the week, 20 minutes a day. The social studies and science you can do during the week on your own time as long as you put in 30 in social studies and 30 in science. Don't forget to turn in, okay? Turn in the assignments for those. Miss Gaylord can click the website and she can see who's been logging in and the grades that they got for the week with the website. So do not forget that, okay? Now, Miss Gaylord sent your parent an email as well yesterday that told them make sure you mark the turn in button in the Google Classroom. She's finding that some of you are either turning in and you're not turning in the work with it, or you're marking turn in, you didn't do it, or either some of you are doing it correctly and it's turning in correctly. However, some of you are not turning in at all. So make sure that you are doing those, okay, so that you can get credit. I know you're working hard and you are putting in the work. So let's make sure that you get the credit for that, okay? All right. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. If you need to press pause on the video, do that. I'm going to grab my math materials, get a quick sip of water, get yourself energized, go to the restroom, and let's get ready to start our next part of the lesson, which is in math. Now, I hope that you have had a chance. Some of you have been printing off the lessons, which is wonderful. That way you can follow along with the video and you can do the work that way and you can fill in your answers. Now, in the math lesson, there's a math homework attached to each night. Miss Gaylord grades those. So each day after the lesson, you can do the homework on the Google form and you mark turn in and it lets me know that you are doing those, okay? So if you have your math pages out, if you've printed them out or you're going to look at them later, these are the ones we're talking about today, okay? This is lesson 27. We're on page 260 and 261. This is what the math pages look like in your book, okay, if that's where you are. Now let's review a little bit about from last week, our shapes. This shape has no straight sides. What shape is this? This is a circle. Very good, okay. This shape has 4 straight sides and 2 sides are parallel and these 2 sides are parallel, which means they won't touch. What would this shape be? This is called a rhombus. Very good, a rhombus. Okay, this shape has 3 straight sides and it can be different shapes. This one, they all happen to be the same length, but they don't have to be. What shape has 3 straight sides? The triangle. This shape has 4 straight sides. 2 sides are parallel. That means they don't touch, and 2 sides are not parallel. What shape is this? This is my trapezoid. Very good. Okay. This is a 4-sided figure where all the sides have the same length, and that would be my square. Very good. Okay. This shape is a 4-sided figure as well, but 2 sides are the same length and parallel, and these 2 sides are shorter and also parallel. This is called my rectangle, and this is my 6-figure side. This is my 6-sided figure called a hexagon. What's my 5-sided figure called? Pentagon. Very good. Now, which of these shapes are quadrilaterals? Which one are that, meaning they have 4 sides? The prefix quad means 4. Okay. Trapezoid, rectangle, square, and my rhombus. Very good. Okay, that's my review of those shapes. Very good. Okay, let's review a little bit about money. I hope that you have I ask you to get some money handy, okay, and review. Miss Gaylord pulled out some change today to show you. I hope you've been practicing. There's some activities you can do online with change practicing as well. Have mom or dad put them in a cup, put them in a muffin tin, and then you decide, you look at each little circular part of the tin and you can take one out and count the money in them, okay? All right, today, let's say if Miss Gaylord has this amount of money, what she would count, okay? All right, so we're going to start with our biggest first. How much is this worth? 25 cents, okay? And then I have one of these, which is called a dime. How much is 25 and 10? 35. Very good. And then I've got this nickel. How much is 35 plus a nickel? 40. Very good. And then I've got this little rusty old penny, which is worth how much? 1 cent. 1 cent. So I have 25, 35, 40, 41 cents. Very good. Okay, let's say I'm counting quarters. Count them with me. 25, 50, 75, $1, $1.25, and $1.50. Okay, $1.50. Okay, which one is more? $1.50 or this dollar? $1.50. Very good. Okay, so now I've grabbed some other bills. I've got 2 of these, and I've got 1 of these. Let's see, and I've got 1 of these. Okay, can you tell me how much I have? Okay, let's start with the biggest first. Okay, I've got a $10 bill plus 5, 15, 20, 21. And let's say I've got this much change. Okay, I've got $21.10, 15, and then 3 pennies, 16, 17, and 18. Very good. Okay. Now that you've practiced counting your money, you can also give yourself some problems to say which one has more. Okay, which one would be more? Would it be my 41 cents? Okay. Or would it be 35 cents? Which one is more? Okay, 41 cents is bigger than 35 cents. So you can also practice with those. If you have time at home, you can practice with your change and money, and that will definitely help you when you come back to school as well, okay? Another thing that you should be practicing daily is your time, okay? Your time. We've talked about how time can be measured by, this is called 2 different types of clocks. What type is this clock with the arms on it? This is called an analog clock. Then you also have a clock like this on a phone, which is your digital, okay? Your digital clock, okay? So what time would this be? 11 o'clock. And each one of these numbers represents how many? 5. Very good. Okay, but what if it's 3 minutes past the 1? What time would it be? 11:08. Okay, now it's 1 minute past the 5. 11:26. Okay, now it's almost to the 12. Now both of the hands are almost to the 12, but have 2 minutes to go. This is a hard one. 11:58. Very good. Okay, so you be drawing your clocks daily. Have mom or dad draw your clocks to keep you up with time and help yourself to learn to make sure that you are working on that as well, okay, each day. All right, so you've had time to get out your math, okay? If you would get out your math, I'm going to start with the lesson today. All right, and so we learned yesterday that we have yesterday we talked about how we can understand tiling in rectangles, okay? So we took some rectangles yesterday and we asked ourselves how many squares could fill up this rectangle, okay? So Miss Gaylor took some tiles and she showed you, let's see if I can find one here, that's in the shape of a square, okay? And to see how many of squares could actually fill up this rectangle. She showed you that there are ways to look at the rectangle, okay? What do we call this this piece here that would make up the rectangle? We would call this, there's one here and one here. We call those rows. Very good. Okay, so 2 rows of square tiles can make up this rectangle. Now, I can't lay it flat and show you, so I'm having to hold it, so just bear with me. This is one row, and this is the second row. Okay, so we have 2 rows of squares. Okay, we talked about different ways that we could arrange the tiles in a rectangle. Okay, a rectangle can be turned this way or this way. Okay, if I turned it this way, how many rows could make up this rectangle? 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, about 4 rows. If I turned it this way, 1 row, 2 rows. Very good. Okay. So we worked on that yesterday and we talked about how we could. So we're going to continue with that today. Turn to page 260 with me and let's explore this idea today. They want you to fill rectangles with squares and then find the total number of squares. Okay. So I've kind of got this to show you a little bit, okay? Now, some of the squares are filled in and some are not. Now, this is not exactly like the diagram in the book. I just wanted to show you with this. If this was the diagram, you can see one square has not been filled in. Can you find that square? This one. Very good. Okay. In this example, how many rows are there in the rectangle? Okay. If you had to count them, you could count 1 row, 2, 3, and 4. Very good. Okay. Now, if I ask you to fill in the last part of the rectangle, where would you draw the square? Here. Very good. Okay. So I'm going to use my band here to show you. Okay. In your book, you're going to have to draw with your pencil. Okay. And so I could fill in the squares to make this rectangle have a certain number of squares, okay? It's kind of hard for me to do it and also show it to you, so I'm going to kind of do the best I can. Okay, so I've kind of filled them in here. So this is the one I filled in. So now this rectangle is made up of how many squares? 8, okay? And how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many squares on each row? 2. Very good. Okay, so let's look back in your book. It says, number 2, Dan started drawing squares to fill this rectangle. They want you to draw the rest of the squares. Okay, so Miss Gillard's going to take her rectangle, and I hope that I can draw on it correctly. Okay, let's count. How many rows are in this problem for number 2? How many rows? Okay, that's 1 row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 rows. Very good. Okay, now, do you see how they've left some of them off? They have made, we call them columns, the ones that go down. They've only made some of the columns. How many are in each row? 4. You can see from the top one that there's supposed to be 4 rectangles in each row, and they've left off the rest. So I'm going to go back and erase this. This is what your book would look like before they drew them in, okay? So how many rows again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many squares in each row? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they want you to draw the rest of the squares into the book, okay? All right, so let's take our pencil and let's draw the rest of the rows. Go ahead and fill it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can draw those lines horizontally. And they also want you to draw the lines vertically so that it looks something like that. Miss Gillard's is not that neat because she's trying to do it sitting up, okay? So let's answer the questions together. Number 3, how many rows of squares are there? Now, you're going to use a complete sentence when you write your answer. You're going to write, there are how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to write, there are 6 rows with how many squares in each? 4. There are 6 rows with 4 squares in each row. If you get behind and want to press pause, please do that during the lesson if I'm going too fast, okay? I need to move on for time. Number 4, how many squares are there in all? So you can count those, okay? You can count them by ones, or as you grow older, you'll learn how to multiply to find the answer. First, you count them by ones, okay? What's a way to do that? You can count them by ones, and you got how many? Good. There are 24 squares. So when you show your work, you can write this. There are 24 squares, and you can write 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 24. Now, as you grow older and learn how to multiply, we haven't learned that yet, but we can multiply the number that are in the row, which is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, by how many rows there are, and you're going to learn that 6 times 4 equals 24 next year. Okay? All right, so in your blank, you would put there are 24 squares in all, and you can write 4 6 times, or you could write 6 4 times. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. All right, moving on to number 5. This rectangle is the same size as the one above. Okay, I wrote on this side, and now I've got one the same size, and it says, Dan started drawing larger squares, not the small 24 squares, but larger squares on this rectangle. Can you draw the rest of the squares? Okay, so Dan drew 2. Okay, I'm going to kind of show you the 2 that he drew. He drew 1 and 2, and this is what his problem looked like. Okay, now you need to draw the rest of the squares. Can you tell how many more you should draw? How many more rows? You've got 1 row, 2. You need to draw 1 more row. Can you tell how many should be in each row? 2. Very good. So your rectangle should look like this. Okay. Now, number 6. How many rows are there? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3. So in your sentence, you would write, there are 3 rows. And how many squares in each row? 2. There are 2 squares in each row. And when you answer 7, use the sentence. How many squares are there in all? And you would say there are 6 squares. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Now that you know how to do that, let's look at the next page that says, let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about it. Again, if you need to press pause, do so. Number 8. How did you know how many squares were missing in the first rectangle? How did you know how many squares were missing? Okay. Well, when they gave you the problem, they showed you, okay, they showed you how many were in the first row. So you would write that as your answer there. How did you know how many squares were missing in the first rectangle? Well, I knew because they showed me how many squares were in the first row and in the first, what do we call this? Column. I knew because they showed me how many squares were in the first row and in the first column. Okay, make sure you're writing a complete sentence. If you need to press pause, do that. We're going to move on. Number 9, how did you know how many squares were missing in the second rectangle? Okay, now the second rectangle, they showed you that it looked like this. How did you know what squares were missing in the second rectangle? Well, you could say, I drew 1 square to fill in the left column. Then I knew there were 2 squares in each row. And I knew that there were 3 rows. Okay, use your good sentence. Now, the last question there, number 10, says these two rectangles are the same size. Okay, why is there a different number of squares? Okay, why is there a different number of squares? In this rectangle, there's 24. In this one, there's only 6. Why is there a different number? Anybody want to take a possible guess? The rectangles are the same size, but why are there a different number of squares? The squares are different sizes. Yes, the squares are bigger on this side and smaller on this side. The squares are different sizes. Perfect. Okay. As you are wrapping up the Try It Another Way, they gave you some dot paper to work on, okay? And the dots on the dot paper look something like this. And they ask you to look at the shapes that they drew, okay? And look at the rectangles. Show 2 different ways to fill the rectangle with the same sized squares. Okay, so that doesn't mean both rectangles have the same sizes. That means they're going to take the same rectangle shape like this one, and they're going to make some squares bigger and some smaller. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Okay, they gave you a rectangle that went over, let's see, 1, 2, 8. Okay, I don't think I have enough here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, okay. Let me make a few more and then I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so their rectangle looks something like this, okay? All right, so they gave you, now I'm going to draw the rectangle, okay? It was 8, and then it was 4 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, and across 8. And this is what the rectangle shape looks like, basically, okay? All right, so you need to take this rectangle, but you have to make the shapes the same size, okay? The same size squares. We can't just put a square here and a big square over here. The squares have to be the same size like they were here or here, okay? So they have to be the same size. Okay, so what can we do? Well, we can, first of all, let's divide it in half. Okay, those are squares the same size. Okay, so you could do, that could be one of your answers. Just divide it simply in half, and that you could use that as one answer. But notice they gave you 2 rectangles. What's another way that I could do? I don't want to use the same answer twice. What's another way that I can make squares from these shapes? What can I do? Okay. I've already divided in half. Is there a way I could divide it in fourths? I can't make a straight line. Let's see. What if I divided it in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this one has missing. So, okay. All right, so what if I divided it into fourths this way? Okay, are those squares though? No, they're rectangles. But can I make a square out of them? Do you see another way I can make? Those fourths are rectangles, so that's not going to work. But if I drew a line across here, would those be squares? Yes. Okay, so this is my other way. Now I've made how many squares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I've taken the same rectangle and made 8 squares from it. Okay, So what is the other answer that I could have done? I could have made 8 squares like this, or I could erase these and just make 2 big squares, and that could be an answer. Okay? 1 and 2. Okay, so I've got 2 answers. Let me do them one more time. This is 1. Make 2 squares the same size. Okay, and this is the other. Make 8 squares out of the shape as well. Okay, so we had to think about that one. Now, when you go to do your homework for the Google Classroom, make sure that you complete the answers and then mark the turn in button. Okay, mark the turn in button so you can get full credit. Okay, take your time. Don't forget to go back and do the I ready. Don't forget to review your time and money. And that will help you to be ready for the things that we've missed while we are doing the digital learning. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. You get some, instead of stars, Miss Gaylord got some ice cream. So now you have 2. You've got 1 from Riggs and 1 from Math. 2 ice creams. Yum, 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 yum. Okay. All right. Good job. If you need to press pause, you can do that for just a minute. If you need to grab something that you need, we're going to start with our reading lesson next. Okay. All right. So if you have printed out your work, this is what it looks like today. You'll be on page 326 and 327. This is where we are in our reading book. Okay. Do you remember yesterday that we began to learn about comparing and contrasting? Okay. We've done this before many times in our classroom. What is the tool or the diagram that Miss Gaylord often uses to show when she wants to compare two things? She uses her Venn diagram. Very good. She uses her Venn diagram. Okay, now yesterday we learned what some of these terms mean. When you compare something, they want you to tell how they are alike. So we're going to put the parts that they are alike, which means that are both characteristics of both. We're going to put them in the center. Okay. We're going to put the part that we compare that are alike in the center, and that we contrast the parts that are different, we're going to put on the outside. Remember this diagram we did? Okay. So the outsides are each going to be the contrast, the side and the side. And what's alike about the two things is going to be in the middle. Okay. All right. So we put that, and we did, do you remember we did our little cubes? Okay. Miss Gaylord showed you her cubes and we compared them. Okay. Today, would you like to compare something else? Okay. Let's see what I've got in my little basket today. All right. Today I can let's pull out these two and let's compare and contrast. What are these? What are these? Fidget spinners. Okay. She's found something to compare today. Okay. Look at them closely. Okay. Get some ideas what you think are alike. Okay. Look at that one. Get this one. Okay. What do you think that is alike? What's alike about the two spinners? Okay. What can we put in our compare part? Okay. They are both spinners, right? They're both fidget spinners. Okay. That's one thing. Very good. All right. Just tell me something else. Okay. They're both spinners. They both turn around and around. Okay, very good. Do you see anything else about them that are alike? Okay. They both are. Okay. They both may be shiny. Okay, they both may be shiny. Okay, do you see something that is different? Can you tell this one? Okay, that one is spotted. Okay, let's put that under this side. This blue one is spotted. What color is it? It's blue. We can put blue on this side. It's blue and spotted. It's also kind of in the shape of it's kind of star-shaped. So let's put that shape is different than the other. Okay. Now look at this one carefully and this one. How many, I call them arms, but I don't know. How many arms does this one have? 4. Okay, this one has 4 arms. That's something good to say. Now look at this red one. Is it spotted? No, it's solid. It's a solid color. So let's put this, it's solid. And what color is it? It's red. Good. Okay. How many arms are on this one? 3 arms. And it also has a second color. Not only is it red, but it's also has some black on it. Okay, so they're very 2 different spinners. Okay, this one also has a team name. I don't know if you know that team name. It's from Liberty University. We could also put that on that side, okay? So that's one way to compare and contrast. Today's lesson, let's focus on what we're going to compare today, okay? All right, so I'd like for you to turn to 326, and today's lesson is called Don't Feed the Animals. You ever heard that before? Don't feed the animals. All right, if you need to press pause on the lesson, and please do so that you can read it by yourself. I want you to read every word. So press pause and take a minute to read. Okay, you should have read it now. It's called Don't Feed the Animals by Marvin Reinhardt. Have you ever seen a chipmunk begging for food from a person? Many people might want to give the chipmunk a piece of their snack, but please don't. If we want to have healthy wild animals, we can't give animals people food. People food can make wild animals sick. It also teaches them they need people to live. Instead of finding their own food, the animals learn to beg. When people aren't around, the animals don't know what to do. They forget how to live off the land around them. Okay, now that was the first article we read, was called Don't Feed the Animals. This one came from a magazine, okay? Now, if you look at the article there, what do you think is the most important message in that first article, Don't Feed the Animals? Can you go ahead and underline it on your paper if you printed it out? Underline the most important message you think. Go back and look at it carefully. Okay, what did you think was important? Look at the last part of paragraph 1. If we want to have healthy wild animals, then we cannot give animals people food. Now let's look at the second article. It's called Our Animal Friends by Jerry Limpton. We need to take care of our animals. One way to keep animals safe is not to feed them. Feeding them makes them come back for more, and it keeps them from finding their own food. Another way to keep our animals safe is to be careful when driving. Many people are killed each year by driving too fast. Now, this article was a little bit different than the other. Was this article only about feeding animals? No. This animal had 2 parts to it. It was about not to feed the animals, but then also be careful when you drive around animals. So, what would you say is the most important part of this article? It's not feeding. Can you find it? Can you underline it in your passage? What did you underline? We need to take care of animals. So, this article was about feeding and driving around animals, but the topic of the article was taking care of animals. Okay, now, after you've read the article, let's get ready to complete the Venn diagram together. Again, what did we say was the part in the middle? What do we call that part? Is that the compare or the contrast? That's the comparison, the compare part that's alike. Okay, so we're going to put the word both, just like now if you did not get to print this out, get a piece of notebook paper and draw these Venn diagrams and write in the lesson like Miss Gaylord's going over with you, okay? All right, so let's look at these. Let's first look at the article that says, don't feed the animals. We're going to write the answers here. And then we're going to write the answers for the compare part, our animals as friends, on the second one, our animal friends, okay? So this is the part that's different, alike, different. So we're going to start here with don't feed the animals. Tell me what you underlined as your most important part of the passage. Okay, what did you underline? You underlined, if we want to have healthy wild animals, we cannot give them people food. How can we make that a sentence? Okay, what does people food do to animals? So the most important part would be people food makes animals what? Can you tell me? Sick. Good. Okay, the most important part would be people food makes animals, wild animals, sick. Okay? You can put the word wild in there if you want to. Wild animals. Okay, now this is the part that is the part that we call the part that has both. Okay? Both. We want to put the part that we compare that was in both articles. Okay? These are the contrast. This is the compare. So what part is both? Did it mention something in both articles? Okay. There was some sentence that I saw in both the articles that I recognized. Did you see it? Okay, let me go back and look for it. It says, instead of finding their own food, animals learn to beg. When the people aren't around, the animal does not know what to do. They forget to live off the land around them. It said that in paragraph 1. Okay. I mean, in Article 1. In Article 2, did it mention something about animals? It mentioned something about animals. It says it keeps them from finding their own food. Okay. It keeps them from finding their own food. So in both articles, it mentions something about them not being able to find their own food. Okay. So it makes them not find, mine is a little bit small, their own food. I kind of had to put that in real small there. It makes them not find their own food. Both articles mention that. Now, our second article, Animal Friends, mentioned something else besides food. What else did it tell you to be mindful of when you're around animals? Be careful when you are doing what? Driving. Be careful when you are driving. So the article where we compared them both was here. It makes them not find food. The contrast sides were here. This article mentioned be careful when you're driving. And this article mentioned that people food can make animals sick. Okay, so press pause if you need to copy these or write these down. Look at the talk part of your assignment. What are the most important points in each passage? Use what we put on our diagram when you write your short response. Okay, if you'll turn over and look at page 300 and see if I can find it. Yes, it's on 332. Okay, go to 332. And let's use what we wrote on this diagram to complete our short response. What's an important point in our animal friends? Okay. That is not in Don't Feed the Animals. Okay, so we need to look here. Look at Animal Friends. What was in Animal Friends that was not in Don't Feed the Animals or under both? So we need to write what this was. What it was the important point mentioned. Be careful when you are driving around animals. That could be your topic sentence. Be careful when you are driving around animals. And then as you expand, can you give me some details from the story? Flip back to the story. What could you put? It says, many animals are killed each year because drivers are not careful. You could write that, and then you could write some details. When you're traveling, you might make a mistake and you may not see an animal. The animal could run out in the road, okay? And you could mention some details like that as you wrap up your paragraph, all right? Very good. All right. Well, you get your next ice cream for that part of the reading lesson. You now have 3, and we are ready to move on. If you need to press pause on the video, please do so and take a break. And we're going to jump on to social studies next. Okay. All right. So let Miss Gaylord find her book. Okay. So let's review a little bit about social studies. We've been learning about economy. Okay. And if you pull up the PowerPoint for today, economics, Tuesday, April 7th, let's review. Okay. Can anybody tell Miss Gaylord what is scarcity? We learned this back last week. What is scarcity? Okay. When resources are limited and you don't have enough resources to provide everything that you want, we call them, they are scarce. Okay. I know that your parent is probably only going out to the store if they don't have to get things for you to eat. And some of the things at the stores right now are scarce. They've had to go around different places and find different things. Those are the resources right now are a little bit scarce, okay? What are resources we talked about, okay? What are resources? They can be equipment. They can be these like dirt, air, water, trees, natural resources. They can be things like this, money. They can be people, okay? People. What's the type of resource that has a person who is working, like right now, a doctor or nurse or a teacher? These are called service jobs. Very good. Your mailman, your garbage collector, people that work for the government. Those are your service jobs. Good. Okay. So we talked about those as well. All right. So then we also talked about this term is what if you have to give up something to get what you want? Okay. We talked about our little example with the store. You went to the dollar store and you bought something. Maybe you bought candy, but you had to give up that toy car. We call that the opportunity cost. Very good. Okay. We talked about what would you give up? Would you give up your bedroom to have a king size bed in it, or would you rather have places to play on the floor? Okay. We talked about opportunity cost. We talked about a way to decide how to spend your money. Do you remember what that word means? Allocate. Allocate. Very good. We talked about certain ways. What's the way where the most votes win? If you get more than half the votes, we call that majority rule. What do we call something if what the cost of the item? If it's too high, I'm not going to buy it. We call that price. Very good. Okay. What is the way to allocate where let's say the person who um, wins a contest is the person that gets the prize. Okay, we call that contest. Good. What's a way of deciding who gets goods and services that the strongest person takes the good? It's called force. Good. What's an equal opportunity where you just pick your name out of a hat? We call that lottery. What's the kind where you break something in half and you share? We call that sharing. Very good. What's the kind where the first person in line gets the good that you buy? We call that first come, first serve. What about that grandmama is the oldest person in the room, so she gets the chair? We call that personal characteristics. Very good. And what do we call the person who's in charge gets to decide who gets the good, like a king or something? That would be authority. Very good. Very good. Okay, so we just reviewed. Make sure you go back and look at your PowerPoints, okay? Today's one reminds you what opportunity cost was. When you make a choice, you get something, but you give up something. If you look at the PowerPoint, it says, what are the ways to allocate goods and services? We just named them. What if you have the dollar? Would you buy a toy from the dollar store or would you buy the Skittles? Just say it out loud. You'd buy the Skittles, okay? What would be the toy that you gave up? We call that your opportunity cost. Okay. Well, I want to tell you about something that before there were money, before anybody had any kind of money, change or dollar bills, what did people do to pay for things? How did you get the things that you need? Let me let you in on a little story, okay? This is called The Fisherman and the Knife. Okay, let me tell you this little story. It's called Why We Use Money, The Fisherman and the Knife. One time there was a fisherman, okay? A fisherman didn't have any money to buy things. He needed a trade for what he wanted for his family. Okay, he needed a knife. He was a fisherman and that was his way of making money. Since there was no money in those days, he couldn't just buy a knife. So what did he do? He took his fish. He went to the knife maker to see if he could make a trade. Good morning, Mr. Knife Maker. Here's a nice fresh fish for you. I'll trade it for you if you'll give me a good sharp knife. He said, I've already traded 2 knives for fish this morning. Look at the fish that I have. How many do you think I can eat in one day? He said, what I need is a new hat to keep the sun out of my eyes. My old hat fell in the fire yesterday. Bring me a new hat and I'll give you a sharp knife. Very well, Mr. Knife Maker. He said, I'll go to the hat maker. So the fisherman took his fish and he went to the hat maker to see if he could make a trade. Mr. Hat Maker, I'll trade you this nice fresh fish if you'll give me a hat. Then I can trade the hat to the knife maker so I can get a good sharp knife that I need. Well, the hat maker said, I'd like to let you have it. Really, I would. But this morning, a man already traded me a fish for a hat. Now I've got a fish, and I don't need a fish, but I do need a loaf of bread to go with my fish. If you can give me that piece of bread, I might make a trade for you. It's a long way, but I'll go and see if he will trade for me. Okay. So he went to the bread maker, and the bread maker was able to give him a loaf of bread. And the bread maker went back to the hat maker and gave him the bread, got the hat, and then he had to go back to the knife maker and give him the hat. And then the knife maker was able to give him what he needed. Now that took a lot of trading. What do we call that word that means to trade? Okay, this is a word in economics you need to know. What did that knife maker do? It was called to barter. Okay, he was bartering. He was trading things, and that was very hard. And it would have been much easier if he just had some money to buy that knife with, right? But they didn't have money back way back when, so they had to trade. That's a lot of work. Well, listen to this. Long ago, before people traded, before there was money, they had to trade. This kind of trade where you exchange goods is called bartering. Now, farmers and craftspeople could not use everything that they grew and or they made. But they couldn't grow everything that they wanted. So they needed to have a way to trade things. And so they learned how to what we call barter. Okay. Now let me see. So in your book, we ask you to look for some ways you could, on the PowerPoints, the ways you could barter. Okay. All right. So it says, what is an example of bartering? Listen to these three examples. Is it paying money for a candy bar? Using your credit card to buy a pair of shoes? Or exchanging a bag of pretzels for some cookies? Which one of those is bartering? Exchanging the bag of cookies for some pretzels, okay? If you had to barter everything that you got, wouldn't that be a pain? That would take a lot of money. Now, I've seen some of you bartering before. I've seen you, I'll trade you this for that. Miss Gaylor pulled out her mystery bag, okay? In the mystery bag, maybe you've said before, I've got this basketball. If I trade you the basketball, can I have your medal? Okay, is that an example of bartering? It is. You didn't pay cash for the medal. He didn't pay cash for the basketball, but you traded, and that would be bartering, okay? Ladies, I have some nail polish today, okay? And I also have some perfume. If we decided I'll trade you my nail polish if you'll give me your perfume, would that be bartering? Yes, that would be bartering. That would be bartering, okay? But then I'll go to the dollar store and I find me some purchases I want to make. I've got $1 and I go to and I buy Stretchy Man with my dollar and I buy some dinosaurs. Is that bartering? If I pay money for it, if I paid money for it, is that bartering? No, that's not bartering. Okay. So a barter, it would be a trade. Okay. I have this Hello Kitty. What would you trade me for it? Look around your room and what would you trade me for this Hello Kitty? Girls? Something in your room? Okay. Boys, what would you trade me for this basketball? Those would be examples of bartering. Bartering. Very good. What if you had to barter for everything you had? What if you needed a pair of new shoes to wear to school because yours were falling apart? What if you had to barter and trade somebody for something every time you went to the store? Would that be easy? No, that'd be difficult. Do you know that we came up with a form of something that we could use that everybody would have the same thing? Now, Ms. Gaylor told you this little fact a few weeks ago. Who was one of the founders of our country that helped found our currency system? We call our currency money. Do you remember? Thomas Jefferson. Very good. Okay. Back in the 1700s. Yes. Now, long ago, before there was money, people started exchanging things. They may exchange shiny rocks or shells or or food. Those could be ways to barter as well. Okay. Now, you get another ice cream for social studies. You have 4 and you've got 1 more to go. As we wrap up our ELA today, let me tell you about our story. I hope that you are following with me and you either have your copy or you are reading along in the PDF that Miss Gaylord sent the class. We have read 3 chapters and today we're on chapter 4. In our last chapter, it was a tiring afternoon for Wilbur. Wilbur got out of the what? The pig pen on the farm. Okay. Do you remember how Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy got Wilbur back in? What did they use? Slops, a pail of food or warm slops. And Wilbur came back. Wilbur was tired out after that. And they covered the loose board. And so no more animals were able to get out. Who is one of the main characters of our book here? Who's the girl? Fern Arable. Good. And what is her pig's name? Wilbur. Wilbur. Where does Wilbur live? On the Zuckerman farm. Very good. Now, we've read 3 chapters. There's a Google form in your classroom that you need to answer. It's a multiple choice question. And don't forget to put your name on it before you press send, okay? You have to turn it in, and this will be a reading grade that I can count for your classwork. If you've listened to the book, you should be able to get them all right as well, okay? I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 4 today. It's called Loneliness. The next day was rainy and dark. Rain fell on the roof of the barn and dripped steadily from the eaves. Rain fell in the barnyard and ran in crooked courses down into the lane where thistles and pigweed grew. Rain spattered against Mrs. Zuckerman's kitchen windows and came gushing out of the downspouts. Rain fell on the backs of the sheep as they grazed in the meadow. When the sheep tired of standing in the rain, they walked slowly up the lane into the fold. Do you know what a fold would be? A sheep fold? The safe place to keep the sheep, right? Rain upset Wilbur's plans. Wilbur had planned to go out this day and dig a new hole in his yard. I had other plans too. This is what his plans for the day went like. Breakfast at 6:30, skim milk, crust, middlings, little bits of cereal and stuff, bits of donuts, wheat cakes with drops of maple syrup sticking to them, potato skins, leftover custard pudding with raisins, little bit of shredded wheat cereal. Breakfast would be finished at 7, and from 7 to 8, Wilbur planned to have a talk with Templeton. Templeton is the rat that lived under his trough. Do you remember what a trough is? His feeding tray. Templeton is the rat. Remember him. Talking with Templeton was not the most interesting occupation in the world, but it was better than nothing. From 8 to 9, Wilbur planned to take a nap outdoors in the sun. From 9 to 11, he planned to dig a hole or trench and possibly find something good to eat buried in the dirt. From 11 to 12, he planned to stand still and watch flies on the boards, watch bees in the clover, and watch swallows, birds in the air. 12 o'clock, lunchtime. Middlings, warm water, herrings, meat gravy, carrot scrapings, meat scraps, stale hominy, and the wrapper off a package of cheese. Lunch would be over at 1, and from 1 to 2, Wilbur planned to sleep. From 2 to 4, he planned to scratch itchy places by rubbing against the fence. And from 3 to 4, he planned to stand perfectly still and think of what it was like to be alive and to wait for Fern. At 4 would come supper: skim milk, provender, leftover sandwich from Lurvy's lunchbox, prune skins, a morsel of this, a bit of that, fried potatoes, marmalade drippings, a little more of this, a little more of that, a piece of baked apple, a scrap of upside-down cake. Wilbur had gone to sleep thinking about these plans. He awoke at 6 and saw the rain, and it seemed as though he could not bear it. I get everything all beautifully planned out, and it has to go in rain, he said. For a while, he stood gloomily indoors, and then he walked to the door and looked out. Drops of rain stuck struck his face. His yard was cold and wet. His trough had an inch of rainwater in it, and Templeton, who's what? The rat, was nowhere to be seen. "Are you there, Templeton?" called Wilbur. There was no answer, and suddenly Wilbur felt lonely and friendless. "One day's just like another," he groaned. "I'm very young. I have no real friend here in the barn, and it's going to rain all morning and all afternoon, and Fern won't come in such bad weather. Oh, honestly." And Wilbur was crying again for the second time in 2 days. At 6:30, Wilbur heard the banging of a pail. Lurvy was standing out in the rain, stirring up breakfast. "Come on, pig," Lurvy said. Wilbur did not budge. Lurvy dumped the slops, scraped the pail, and walked away. He noticed that something was wrong with the pig. Wilbur didn't want food. He wanted love. He wanted a friend, someone who would play with him. He mentioned this to Goose, who was sitting quietly in the corner of the sheepfold. Will you come over and play with me?" he asked. "Sorry, Sonny, sorry," said the goose. "I'm sitting on my eggs." What kind of language is that when you repeat something over and again for the purpose of making sure the reader hears it? Repetition. Good. "I'm sitting on my eggs, 8 of them. Got to keep them toasty warm. I have to stay right here. I'm no flibberty-ibberty-gibbet. I do not play when there are eggs to hatch. I'm expecting goslings." What are goslings? Baby geese. "Well, I didn't think you were expecting woodpeckers," said Wilbur bitterly. Wilbur tried next one of the lambs. "Will you please play with me?" he said. "Certainly not," said the lamb. "In the first place, I cannot get into your pen. I'm not old enough to jump over the fence. In the second place, I'm not interested in pigs. Pigs mean less than nothing to me." "What do you mean, less than nothing?" said Wilbur. "I don't think there is such anything as less than nothing. Nothing is the absolute limit of nothingness. It's the lowest you can go. It's the end of the line. How can something be less than nothing? If there were something that's less than nothing, then nothing would be nothing. It would be something, even though it was a little bit of something. But if nothing is nothing, then nothing has nothing unless it is." "Oh, be quiet," said the lamb. "Go play by yourself. I want to play with pigs." And we're going to pause here today. If you want to read ahead, please do so, okay? All right. Thank you for being such a good listener. We're going to stop here on page 29. Now, don't forget to go back and make sure that you are marking everything turned in and you are listening to the videos and doing your work. Don't forget your daily websites, your iReady, and your other things, okay? All right. Well, thank you for a good lesson. You did a great job, and you got your last ice cream. You got all 5. Can you tell them goodbye, monkey? All right. We'll see you all tomorrow. Okay, goodbye.